May Allah have mercy upon him. So I encourage everyone to go tomorrow for his janazah, inshallah, and attend it. Surat Al-Insan, and this will be the last session before Ramadan prep. Next week, the same timing, there'll be a Ramadan preparation session. We will put in the groups, inshallah, there'll be a poster with all of the titles of the different sessions that I'll be running. I run usually Friday and Saturday in English, and then Sunday in Arabic. So there'll be 2 weeks Ramadan, 2 weekends of Ramadan prep. Next weekend, 2 English sessions and an Arabic session on Sunday. And the weekend after, 2 English sessions and an Arabic session on Friday. So 6 sessions in total, 4 in English and 2 in Arabic. You're welcome to attend any of them or all of them, and bring whoever you want for them. It's just to kind of, inshallah, bring up the spirit of Ramadan and make sure that we're all in the right mental space, the right spiritual space, and that you have all the answers to questions regarding the fiqh of Ramadan. If you don't know like how to do certain things with fasting and you have any questions, then I'm here to help, inshallah, facilitate answering and making sure that you're comfortable, inshallah ta'ala. So that's the plan. So tonight we'll conclude, inshallah, Surat Al-Insan. We still have a juz' and a surah left to conclude this effort that we started in March, I think, of 20, or maybe, I don't know, maybe February of 2022. We started Surat Qaf, and the goal was to get till the end of the Quran, or go through those 4 ajza', make sure that what is called al-mufassal fil Quran, the comprehensive, is explained and accessible to you in English, so that you can always go back and understand what the surah means, understand what the theme is, understand what how it fits with everything around it, and gives you, inshallah, motivation to memorize these surahs and use them in your prayers. I think that any Muslim should know at least that piece of the Quran, at least from Qaf to An-Nas. I think it's worth. Not everyone has to be a full hafiz of the Quran, but I think if you're going to choose what to memorize, I think these last 4 juz' have the largest number of surahs, by far. If you look at the numbers, just out of interest, because in the Quran there's 114 surahs, right? So Surat Qaf is number 50. So everything before Qaf is just 50 surahs, and then 64 surahs are in the last 4 juz'. So more than half the number of surahs are in the last 4. Why? Because they get really, really short. But a surah is a surah. So short or small, short or long, they all, each surah, it serves a purpose. It's teaching a concept. So even Surah Al-Baqarah, which is 2.5 juz', it serves one topic, like it's teaching one concept. It's maybe doing it in a very detailed manner, but it's still just one teaching point that it's making. And Kawthar is a surah with one teaching point too. Even though Surah Al-Baqarah technically is 150 of Surah Al-Kawthar or more, but still they are equal in terms of being a surah, right? So I think that there's value in knowing these last 4 ajza. So that's my 2 cents on the matter, which is why I chose to do this tafsir. I've done it before in English, but it wasn't recorded and it wasn't all in one bulk. So I decided that we would do this one last time. So inshallah, after Ramadan, we'll have 1 more year, I think, left to finish from Mursalat to the end of Juz' Amma, and then we'll move on to something different. But I invite you to continue to try and memorize these surahs and put the effort into understanding them. So we arrived at ayah number 23. That's where we stopped last week. So Surat Al-Insan, as I pointed out a number of times in the past, it's a method of da'wah, but it's performing it with the emphasis on the reward, the emphasis on what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has in is keeping for you. This piece is what it emphasizes. Every time you perform da'wah, you have to bring all 3 elements. You have to cater to the intellect. You have to speak to the humanity of the person, to their understanding of life, and to the deeper meanings, which is what Surah Al-Qiyamah emphasized. You have to speak to their desire in ease and in reward and in a better life, which is what Surat Al-Insan does. You have to speak of what they risk if they don't listen to this. Honestly, that piece is an important motivation too, which is what Surah Al-Mursalat does, the punishment that exists. And with these 3 pieces, da'wah is best performed. If you drop one of them in your attempt to perform da'wah, you end up offering it in a way that does not serve its purpose. And even if the person accepts your da'wah, they accept it with some degree of a misunderstanding of what they walked into to begin with. You weren't honest about what it was that you're offering, what you're explaining. So da'wah has to consist of all three elements, which is why each surah, Qiyamah, Insan, and Mursalat, has all three elements. It's just where the emphasis lies. So the emphasis, then the focus in Surah Al-Insan was on describing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has in Jannah waiting for you. Talking in detail about the different aspects of na'im and bliss, whether it may be physical or social or financial or psychological. Talking about the detailed aspects of your leisure in Jannah, making you feel that that you're not going to be served. You see, whenever any service goes international, usually what happens is the personal piece it drops, it falls. It all becomes commercialized and it becomes soulless. It becomes soulless, and people lose that piece because khalas, they're serving too many people. You get bored. You don't want to have to serve 1 million people. Or mama papa shops are nice because it's there's craftsmanship. There's a lot of focus on what's being offered to you. You like that. You like to be seen as an individual and cared for specifically to your needs. When things go international, they lose that piece. So the fear is if you go to Jannah and millions or billions of people go to Jannah with you, well, you're just one of, God knows. So you're probably going to get no. So the Surah Al-Insan is focusing the detail. He's describing in detail who is going to be looking after you and how they're going to be looking after your every need and taking care of your every desire. That is very comforting, because if you're alluded to think or to believe that and Jannah is going to be just run of the mill like everyone else, then you may find, no, if I get really rich in dunya, I can hire a whole yacht with the people working on it just to take care of me, and I'm the only focus. In Jannah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes Jannah to have that and more, and to have all that which you offer. So you don't feel that there's any bliss or any form of pleasure or any form of reward that outranks Jannah in any way. The finale of the surah, which is where we are tonight, inshallah we're going. Allah, what He says, subhanahu wa ta'ala, إِنَّ هَذَا كَانَ لَكُمْ جَزَاءً وَكَانَ سَعْيُكُمْ مَشْكُورًا. In addition to all of what I explained, even from a mental perspective, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say to the people in Jannah, indeed what you are witnessing, what you're enjoying right now, is reward to what you've done, for what you've done. وَكَانَ سَعْيُكُمْ مَشْكُورًا. And your striving in your life and the goals that you made and the work that you did is heavily appreciated. And it's being, we're showing gratitude towards what it is that you've done. Because we all know on some level that there's nothing that we can do to actually repay Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for what He's given us. And if we can't repay Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, then how could we ever deserve what's in Jannah? And the answer is you can't. I can never deserve what's in Jannah. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He puts you in Jannah, He's going to tell you time and time again that this is because of what you've done. You have deserved this. This is because of all your good work. So that you don't sit there feeling like an imposter. You don't sit in Jannah feeling that you don't deserve this and you don't belong here and you feel like this is too much. No, you sit there being told by the Almighty, by the Divine Himself subhanahu wa ta'ala, that everything that you are receiving, you have earned, you have worked hard for. Do not feel like this is something that you should be embarrassed for receiving or feel bad about having because you don't really deserve it. No. Because in life we can feel that way. Many of us do. Many of us are given gifts and blessings in life and we don't know. Like we feel bad about them. Do I deserve this? Why am I getting all of this? It's too much. I don't know what to do with all of it. You start getting scared that you have too much and you don't know what to do with it. It's a part of just being an ethical human being. You start questioning whether you have done, what have you done to deserve all of this? So it's a scary piece of being alive. So that's why people who aren't even religious will struggle with a lot of bliss in their lives because they start questioning themselves and whether they are worthy of all of it. In Jannah, the bliss is off the charts, but you won't feel that because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will continue to emphasize that piece for you, reminding you, هَذَا كَانَ لَكُمْ جَزَاءً. You've earned this. Your sa'i in dunya, all the work you did, mashkur. We are grateful for it. Subhanahu wa ta'ala, Jalla Jalalullah. For what? But that's what He's going to tell you, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that even from the mental perspective, you are in bliss. You are feeling comfortable and content at that moment. You don't feel that fear or that guilt or that lack of belonging. So We're going to read ayah number 23 as we listen to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give His final pieces of advice within this surah to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, and then to us as well, as a way to say, well, if you liked what you heard, and if you enjoyed hearing about what Jannah carries, if you fear سلاسل وأغلالا وسعيرا, if you listen to the description of the Abrar, يوفون بالنذر ويخافون ويطعمون الطعام على حبه, and you would like to be amongst these people, and you want to be in this place, well, here are some tips to make sure that you get there. And it's something worth going through. So we'll recite them inshallah together and go through them. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا نحن نزلنا عليك القرآن تنزيلا. فاصبر لحكم ربك ولا تطع منهم آثما أو كفورا واذكر اسم ربك بكرة وأصيلا ومن الليل فاسجد له وسبحه ليلا طويلا. So he gave here subhanahu wa ta'ala a number of commands after he said, in addition to the fact that you're going to hear إِنَّ هَذَا كَانَ لَكُمْ جَزَاءٌ وَكَانَ سَعْيُكُمْ مَشْكُورًا. That's the last speech here in Jannah. He makes a statement subhanahu wa ta'ala to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam in dunya, saying, إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْقُرْآنَ تَنزِيلًا. Indeed, we have descended the Qur'an upon you. Tanzila is to emphasize the actual verb. So نَزَّلْنَا تَنزِيلًا, and I've explained this many times, that if you use a verb and then you put the root of the verb after it, you're just emphasizing that this verb was performed down to its last detail. It was performed perfectly. It was emphasizing the quality of the performance of this verb. So نَزَّلْنَا تَنزِيلًا, meaning we ascended it, no one else did. We descended it, sorry. We descended the Qur'an, no one else got involved, no one else did it beside Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He did it the right way, exactly how it was supposed to be done, when it was supposed to be done, in the right sequence for it to be done. I mean, there's nothing flawed about how the Qur'an was descended upon the Prophet alayhi salatu wasallam. So he's saying, he is emphasizing this point subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we have sent the Qur'an down to you exactly the way it was supposed to arrive to you. As in, listen to everything it's saying. Do not ignore any aspect of it. Don't ignore any piece of it. Everything that's in it is in its exact spot, the way it's supposed to be, at the right time, with the right emphasis. So listen to it. There is no, filler verses that are just there. There's nothing in the Quran that's just there to ignore and move on to the second. Everything that he is saying is worth listening to. If you want to arrive at Jannah, you have to treat the Quran that way. You have to look for the answers in the entirety of the Quran. You have to take all of the Quran. You have to accept all of the Quran. You have to try and practice all of the Quran. It's very important to understand this piece within our deen. Okay, there's no cherry picking in Islam. I'm very tired of this topic. There's no cherry picking. You can't just choose what you like. It's not an open buffet. You don't walk up to whatever you like and you take in what you don't like, you just stick with it. No, that's not how Islam works, and it's very difficult, by the way, for someone like, for people who preach and speak, to deal with an audience that is of that nature, where they don't want to hear this, or they don't want to be talked to about that, or they don't want this to be corrected for themselves, or they want to have this talked about. That's not how Islam works. You have to accept all of it. You have to accept the entirety of Islam. And you have to, especially the maxims, especially the issues that are absolutes, where there's no room for debate or argument. There's a lot of parts of Islam scholars have disagreed upon, and there's openness, there's ease. There's different opinions you can choose from. There's a lot of parts. Islam was designed that way. But there's a lot of things in Islam that don't have that are very clear. The command in the Quran has no second way to understand it. There's nothing. This is what the deen says. You can't just drop it because it's inconvenient, because you don't agree with it, or you don't like it, or it's causing you difficulty. And that's something that today has become more and more prevalent, I think, more than it ever was before, where people just take what they want. And that's what happened to, subhanAllah, the Prophet ﷺ told us. He told us, ﷺ, you're going to walk down the path of every nation before you. شِبْرًا بِشِبْرٍ وَذِرَاعًا بِذِرَاعٍ. Another narration, حَذْوَ الْقُذَّةِ بِالْقُذَّةِ. You're going to walk in their footsteps if you don't pay attention. That's what he's trying to say, ﷺ. You're going to walk in the footsteps of all of the nations before you, step by step. So they said, Man ya Rasulullah, Yahud and Nasara, like the Jews and the Christians. وَقَالَ وَمَنْ, who else? Of course, I'm talking about the faith that came before you. The mistakes that they made, you will make. If you're not careful, you'll make the same mistakes. These are the mistakes. You meet people who are from a different faith, and you find that they haven't really read the full, they haven't read the book that they follow fully. They don't know most of what's in it. And they don't really follow most of what's in it. And they hold on to one or two pieces, and the rest of it is just, they treat it as suggestions. Stuff that we're talking about. We don't, that's not, no. For the Quran, you can't. إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْقُرْآنَ تَنزِيلًا. This has been the most important revelation of all time. And it was descended exactly the way it was supposed to be descended. There was nothing wrong or flawed about this descension. You have to take all of it. And that is what we call for. The acceptance of every word in the Quran. Nothing in the Quran is going to be ignored or put aside or decided upon that. You're embarrassed of none of it. And you will hold back none of it. And you will never look at a verse and decide that this is not, I'll put that, no. And that doesn't mean that you have to be perfect. You can walk in here with an endless list of flaws, and physically even visibly not practicing. But that's one thing, and accepting what he said here is another thing. There's a difference between someone who walks in, who says, who has an alcohol problem, but knows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said alcohol is haram and khamr is haram, and acknowledges that and sees himself as a fault for not doing, versus someone who walks in and says, no, that's the sheikh is retarded. This is a long time. He's from the old ages. This is not no. There's a big difference between whether this is what Allah says versus you have a. When you start playing around, when you start saying, I don't believe in that part of the Quran, that's not an option. It's not, being a Muslim, the buy-in is that everything in this book you accept. That's the buy-in. If you decide that one ayah is not for you, then automatically you're not Muslim anymore. You may not be able to practice it. You may say, I can't practice this ayah right now, but I believe it. That's fine. We're all like that. We're all sinful. Where we know what he said here, subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we're not doing it for different reasons, for different weaknesses that we carry. But to deny something and say that it's not correct or it's not, no, that's not an option. And that's ma nadinu bihi lillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what I carry. I will never entertain anything else. So he begins subhanahu wa ta'ala by giving some teachings. Number one, فَاصْبِرْ لِحُكْمِ رَبِّكَ.
Just a question. Do you have any thoughts with inna nahnu, similar words? Could have been inna nazalna or nahnu nazalna.
So all of this is emphasis. So when he uses this term, when he uses the inna, which is emphasizing, and he uses the royal we, right? The royal we is where you speak, those who are kings use this, but only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Arabic should use this. So when he uses the royal we, all of this is to emphasize the wording that's coming. That's when he uses nazzalna with so anzalna is one way to say descend. Nazzalna is to actually emphasize the descension itself. And then putting the word at the end, so the reason I took a moment to explain all of this is because this ayah has so many emphasizing pieces. Like he put in, subhanahu wa ta'ala, so many pieces to emphasize that this was descended, the Quran was descended upon you by myself and no one else, exactly how it was supposed to happen. Well, why is he saying that, subhanahu wa ta'ala? It's so that you pay attention. None of it is, you don't get the option to look at a piece of it and say, I'm good. No. This is coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly. That's why nahnu, so that you don't, inna nazalna, no, nahnu nazalna. We're the ones who did this, as in the royal we. No one else. No one was involved in this. No one got a say in when this was going to start or when this was going to happen. Emphasis in the Quran, in Arabic in general, in the Arabic language, is important. It's a tool to grab attention and also to explain degrees of importance and significance. So the more emphasis, the more significance of what's being said. And the less emphasis, the less on a scale of priorities, if you may. So the scholars of Tafseer often will look at the verses and count how many emphasizing pieces there are. And then they will say this ayah has 6 mu'akkidat, for example, it's 5 mu'akkidat. And then they'll stop and say there's a reason for that. And they will contemplate that and explain it, which is what I try to do here with this piece. So he starts giving subhanahu wa ta'ala a number of commands. So number 1, فَاصْبِرْ لِحُكْمِ رَبِّكَ. Number 2, وَلَا تُطِعْ مِنْهُمْ آثِمًا أَوْ كَفُورًا وَاذْكُرِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ بُكْرَةً وَأَصِيلًا فَاسْجُدْ لَهُ وَسَبِّحْهُ لَيْلًا طَوِيلًا. So he has 5 commands subhanahu wa ta'ala in these verses. So the first one, after he said, I've descended this exactly how it was supposed to be descended, so listen to every word within it. Number 1, فَاصْبِرْ لِحُكْمِ رَبِّكَ. Be perseverant until the decree of your Lord comes through. This is obviously during the time of the Prophet ﷺ's those difficult years. Like I pointed out last time, some scholars see that this was descended, or it was Surat Al-Insan was revealed during Shi'b Bani Hashim, during the boycott of Bani Hashim, where he was stuck in a neighborhood for 3 years and couldn't leave, and none of the Muslims could leave either. Worst time probably of the Muslims' lives, in general. The da'wah, that was rock bottom. That was the lowest da'wah it ever was in terms of number of people accepting and freedom of persecution and ability to move. It was at an all-time low. So he's told, فَاصْبِرْ لِحُكْمِ رَبِّكَ. You have to be perseverant. You want Jannah? You have to persevere. You have to be patient. You can't lose your temper. You can't lose your balance. You can't lose your resilience or your grit. You have to wait. You have to persevere until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decrees something for you. Whatever it may be. He doesn't tell him what it is. He doesn't tell him what it is. He doesn't tell him, my victory comes. No, hukum, my decree. It may be that you get out of this, and it may be that you don't. But you have to persevere until that time comes. Until that time comes, and then that decree will take you in whatever direction and take you into your next chapter, whatever that chapter may look like, whether it's the end or whether it's things getting better or getting worse. فَاصْبِرْ لِحُكْمِ رَبِّكَ. Number 1, sabr. وَلَا تُطِعْ مِنْهُمْ آثِمًا أَوْ كَفُورًا. Do not follow them or be like them. Ta'a is not just obedience. Ta'a is fellowship. Like to be like someone. Tuti'a means that you obey, but also means that you follow. Like you follow in the footsteps. Which is why when we're told to أطيع الله ورسوله, to follow Allah and follow the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام. It's not just obedience, it's also fellowship. وَلَا تُطِعْ مِنْهُمْ آثِمًا أَوْ كَفُورًا. Don't obey, but more clearly, don't follow in the footsteps of the sinful and the ungrateful. Going back to the beginning of the surah, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said at the beginning, إِنَّا هَدَيْنَاهُ السَّبِيلَ. The human being was guided the way. إِمَّا شَاكِرًا. Either the human being will end up being grateful, وَإِمَّا كَفُورًا, or the human being will end up being ungrateful. So وَلَا تُطِعْ مِنْهُمْ آثِمًا أَوْ كَفُورًا. Do not obey or follow in the footsteps of those amongst them who are sinful, or those amongst them who are ungrateful. Don't be like them. Don't be like the sinful, those who break all the rules, lose all their ethics, and don't be someone who's ungrateful and loses their faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number 2. Number 3, وَاذْكُرِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ. And engage in the remembrance of the name of your Lord. This is important, where he uses the word ism subhanahu wa ta'ala a number of times in the Quran. سَبِّحِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ الْأَعْلَى. وَاذْكُرِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ وَتَبَتَّلْ إِلَيْهِ تَبْتِيلًا. وَاذْكُرِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ بُكْرَةً وَأَصِيلًا. In other verses, he says, وَاذْكُرْ رَبَّكَ في نفسك تضرعا وخفيا. So he differentiates subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran many times between remembering Allah, remembering your Lord, and remembering the name of your Lord. وَاذْكُرِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ بُكْرَةً وَأَصِيلًا. بُكْرَةً in the morning, وَأَصِيلًا in the afternoon. As in all times, like whether you are going to work or coming back from work, meaning you're engaging in something or disengaging, make sure that you're engaging in the remembrance of the name of your Lord. And the scholars would often point out that the name of your Lord is referring to all of his names, subhanahu wa ta'ala, all of his 99 beautiful names, Al-Kareem, Wal-Majid, Wal-Rahman, Wal-Rahim, Wal-Ghafur, as in always. And some scholars point out that this is referring to his Ismul A'zam, Allah, his name. You see, his main name is Allah, and that is the greatest of all names. And every other name, there's a description that you can extend to a creation, obviously with no similarity, but you can extend it. So, he is Al-Kareem, subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you could be Kareem too. Not like him, subhanahu wa ta'ala, but I can use that. He is, subhanahu wa ta'ala, Al-Ghafur, but you can be Ghafur. You can also be forgiving. But he is Allah, and you can't be that. You can't be that. Huwa Al-Qahhar, you can be Qahhar. It's not a good thing, but you can. You can mistreat people, and you can step on them. So all of his names, subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's a way for you to extend a part of that name to yourself, whether in a good way or a bad way. But his name, Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's his name. Find joy in saying his name, in repeating his name. وَاذْكُرِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ. This is the raw way of dhikr, of just finding joy in remembering his name. And we don't have the ability to imagine God. I'm going to explain this to you because it's important. To have a relationship with someone, we require some degree of physicality. I mean, you have to see, I know how you look, so I have a memory of it. When there's no memory of someone, I need someone to describe so I can build a memory. Like with the Prophet ﷺ, I would sit down and explain to you. His lihya looked like this, his nose was like this, his eyes, I can draw a picture for you. You can draw it in your mind, now you can imagine the Prophet ﷺ. I speak to you of Allah, we can't do that. It's kufr. It's an act of kufr for me to start describing. There's nothing to describe. Well, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So how do you build a relationship with the one that you can't see? You have all the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but still on an intimate level, how do you build a relationship with one that you can't imagine? So the scholars would say that you attach yourself to his name, because you can imagine his name. You can write his name down, and you can imagine his name. You don't have to imagine a face, or you don't have to imagine organs, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is exalted from all of that. He's exalted from having a face or organs in the way that we understand what face and organs are. So he's exalted from that. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, only Allah knows. What is the essence of Allah? Only Allah knows. I have no idea. And any attempt to speak about that is only going to make things worse. And all of the different disagreements that exist within Islamic Aqeedah are just scholars who spoke too much. They talked about something you couldn't articulate. So it's like you're going down a path that there's no point of going into, because you cannot articulate anything that people can understand safely anymore. Because there's no way to understand it. The line is there. I don't know. I just don't know. I know He is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I know that He is Creator. I know that He has whatever He has decided for Himself, but I don't know how it works. And scholars, to get rid of it, either just stopped, the smart ones, or they interpreted the words in a way that people could. Anyone who tried to do more than that ruined things. And either you say, this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as He explained, I don't know anything else. Or you say, well, He means by that He sees or He acts. Regardless of what they chose to do, they kept it safe. They exalted Him from any. You try to speak more about it, you make mistakes because you're talking about what you don't understand. So how do you connect yourself with the One, the Almighty, the Divine, in your heart? So they would say, Isma Rabbik, the name of your Lord. You have the name. You can attach yourself to His name. And you can focus on that. You can focus on His name, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you can fall in love with the name. And imagine the name. That's why you go to any masjid, you find His name, Allah, written. Right? It's in every masjid, Allah. Why? Because that's what you got. I don't have anything else. I can't imagine anything else about Him. Any other attempt of imagining is going to be wrong. So when I close my eyes, I think of the name. Right? I think of the name. And that's from the Quranic understanding. Since you can't build a physical image of God in your head, then the best next thing is to connect yourself with His name, as He used that in the Quran time and time again. So engage in the remembrance of the name of your Lord. In the morning and in the afternoon, on an ongoing basis. SubhanAllah, you sit with Ahl Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They get up, Allah. They sit, Allah. They walk out, Allah. Always the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on their tongues. It's the thing that comes out of their mouths every time they do something. Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah. Or just His name. Because that's what they're attached to. Because that's where they find the ease of their souls and the apple of their eyes. It's just by continuing. And we know this because if you love someone, you love to speak of them. You love to talk about them. You love to share what you know about them. Men and women who are in love are very annoying to their friends. They ruin any gathering, and you don't want to spend time with them because they're always going to sit down and talk to you how great she is, and you're like, yeah, Habibi, we'll see you 15 years from now, and then tell them, just mashallah, just don't give me a headache. I get it. I know. Yeah, I know you're. But they're very annoying to people who have any. But that's how they are. You love someone, you want to speak of them. So if you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you speak of Him a lot, even if you have no one to listen to you. You speak to Him to yourself. You speak about Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to yourself, knowing that He is listening, and knowing that He is speaking of you as you speak of Him. That's وَمَنْ ذَكَرَنِي فِي نَفْسِهِ ذَكَرْتُهُ فِي نَفْسِي وَمَنْ ذَكَرَنِي فِي مَلَإٍ ذَكَرْتُهُ فِي مَلَإٍ خَيْرٍ مِّنْهُ. Those who remember me just inside themselves, they remember as in they speak of me, or they engage in an active remembrance of me. Privately, I will remember them privately as well. Allah subhanahu, you speak of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your heart, He will speak of you in Himself. What that means, I don't know, but that's what He said. And if you speak about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala amongst a group of people, He will speak about you amongst a group that is better than the group that you spoke about Him amongst. This is what He is saying, subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you remember Him, He remembers you. You love Him, He'll love you back. وَاذْكُرِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ. So yes, you're going to persevere until His decree comes. Yes, you're going to stay away from the actions and the ways of the sinful and the ungrateful, but then you're going to engage in His remembrance. You're always going to remember His name, always speak about Him. I love the ism, please, I love it. Because it gives me something. It gives me something. A heart that's, and he wants to love, but doesn't know how, it gives you something to hold on to. It gives you His name. Maybe the name Allah, which is what most scholars do, or maybe you choose a name that you love. One of His names, subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you absolutely love. The Arab loved Ar-Rahman. They loved this name. It was a problem for Quraysh. Quraysh started to make stories up about it because it was buying people into Islam easily. And once the Prophet ﷺ talked to the Sahaba or talked to the Arab about the Lord, Ar-Rahman, it's a word that didn't exist in Arabic before it was coined. Like, it's a derivative from Rahmah, from mercy, from empathy. But the derivative Rahman did not exist in Arabic before this. So it was a coined phrase by the Quran. And for the first time they loved it because it meant the one whose empathy is extended to all, to everyone, regardless of anything. His empathy encompasses everyone. So they loved it. They loved the name. And then Quraysh started to say, well, he's learning the book from some Roman guy called Rahman living in a... They made something up just to try and ruin the... it was a stupid attempt, but that's what they did because it was powerful. So remember the name of your Lord. وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ, and then at night, because he said, بُكْرَةً وَأَصِيلًا, in the morning and the afternoon. وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ, and then at night, فَاسْجُدْ لَهُ, prostrate to your Lord. Meaning pray, do your qiyam. وَسَبِّحْهُ, number 5, and exalt Him. لَيْلًا طَوِيلًا, for a long night. Spend a long night in His company, prostrating and exalting Him. And tasbih is to claim no flaw. Is to claim no flaw to God. To say He is not human, He is not flawed, and He is not at fault. And I don't object to Him. I don't hold Him accountable. I don't question Him. That's what وَسَبِّحْهُ means. لَيْلًا طَوِيلًا. So the first two commands were practical. Persevere is going to be, it's going to be a few more years. It's going to be hard, so persevere until you get the decree. Number 2, do not give in. Don't decide to follow the ways of the athim or kafur, of the sinful or the ungrateful. Don't be like them. Stay the course. Stay the course. Stay the way you are. So those are 2 practical. And then 3 after that are more spiritual. And then embrace in the name. Say the name. Morning, because you're working, right? You're in the morning, bukratan wa asila, you're out. You're a farmer or a physician or a taxi driver. Whatever you're doing, you're out there. You're making your rizq. So you can't really put it aside and stand in prayer. You have to be working. So say His name. Keep the name. And then when the night comes, when the layl, فَاسْجُدْ لَهُ, find the time to prostrate. وَسَبِّحْهُ, and then exalt Him, لَيْلًا طَوِيلًا, for a long night. And if you do that, you get what He talked about before. Those are the 5 pieces of advice He gave, subhanahu wa ta'ala, at the end of Surat Al-Insan. You want to be with the ones before? Here's 5 pieces for you. Here's a way to get you there. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the ability, inshallah, to do that. We continue, inshallah, because he has a few more points that he needs to make. إِنَّ هَؤُلَاءِ يُحِبُّونَ الْعَاجِلَةَ وَيَذَرُونَ وَرَاءَهُمْ يَوْمًا ثَقِيلًا. نحن خلقناهم وشددنا أسرهم وإذا شئنا بدلنا أمثالهم تبديلا. إن هذه تذكرة فمن شاء اتخذ إلى ربه سبيلا. وما تشاءون إلا أن يشاء الله. إن الله كان عليما حكيما. يدخل من يشاء في رحمته والظالمين أعد لهم عذابا أليما. اللهم ادخلنا في رحمتك يا الله. So he concludes subhanahu wa ta'ala by saying, Inna ha'ula, indeed these people around you, talking about the ungrateful, the sinful, the ones that he told you not to follow or be like or succumb to or give in to, or end up selling out to be like. Inna ha'ula, these ones, yuhibbuna al-ajila, they are obsessed by the ajila, by that which is immediate. That's going to happen now, the dunya. They're obsessed by immediate gratification. They want everything and they want it now. And they have no patience for anything. They have no perseverance. They're not willing to wait. They're not willing to look and plan ahead and try to work towards something that's greater than what may be right in front of their nose. They want something, they want it now, and they don't care about anything else. إِنَّ هَؤُلَاءِ يُحِبُّونَ الْعَاجِلَةَ. They fell in love. They're obsessed by this dunya. وَيَذَرُونَ وَرَاءَهُم. And they're leaving behind it all, behind all of this immediate gratification that they've chosen to invest in and to focus on. They've left behind it يَوْمًا ثَقِيلًا. A very heavy day that's waiting behind it that they've ignored. Yes, they'll get the dunya. They'll enjoy it. They'll enjoy all of it. They'll enjoy it the whole time, maybe. Sometimes they'll get dunya in ways you never thought was possible for all their lives. And they'll enjoy every moment of it. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything because وَيَذَرُونَ وَرَاءَهُم. They have left, you left something behind them. And behind the wall that they put up for themselves in terms of what they've chosen that they're going to focus on. They left behind them يَوْمًا ثَقِيلًا, a heavy, heavy day. No one is happy. No one who does that is happy. You have an exam next week and you decide to go on a trip. And the best trip ever. The most epic trip of your life. You've never had a better time in the entirety of it. And then you go fail the exam. And you fail it, and now you have to wait a year, and your life is all off tracks, and it doesn't make up for it. People have aql, at least. If there's no aql, then they're like, no, it's totally worth it. I don't care. I'll do it again next year. No aql, khalas. You can't depend on someone like that. They're not responsible. I can't trust that person, and no one will. You're not going to offer them your daughter in marriage. You're not going to hire them for a job, and you're not going to. Why? Because there's lack of basic. Just basic human functionality of knowing what's worth doing and what's not. There's no difference here. إِنَّ هَؤُلَاء, indeed these يُحِبُّونَ الْعَاجِلَ, they're focused on what's now. وَيَذَرُونَ وَرَاءَهُمْ يَوْمًا ثَقِيلًا نَحْنُ خَلَقْنَاهُم. The royal we again, we created them. وَشَدَدْنَا أَسْرَهُم, and we have strengthened them to turn into the strong, strapping men and women that they are, capable of moving the world and changing the world and moving the needle and making impact. شَدَدْنَا أَسْرَهُم. What they have is because we gave it to them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, I'm the one who created them. And I gave them that strength that they're using for everything that's wrong. وَإِذَا شِئْنَا. And if I decide to, if I will, بَدَّلْنَا أَمْثَالَهُمْ تَبْدِيلًا. I will replace them with those who are different than them. أَمْثَالَهُمْ, I'll bring people who are as strong, as strapping, but they'll be different. Surat Muhammad alayhi salam. Surat Muhammad at the end of it, وَإِن تَتَوَلَّوْا, and if you turn your back, يَسْتَبْدِلْ قَوْمًا غَيْرَكُمْ. He will substitute you with a different group of people. ثُمَّ لَا يَكُونُوا أَمْثَالَكُمْ. And they won't be like you. They won't make the mistakes you're making, and they won't turn their backs on things. This is an opportunity given to you. So don't mess it up. Don't mess it up. He'll just bring someone else. He put you in the masjid to come and attend and learn and volunteer. You don't want it? No problem. He'll get rid of you and bring someone else. I see it all the time. I see it all the time. All I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to keep me. That's all. My only dua is that He keeps me here. He doesn't kick me out at some point. I stay here. But I see it all the time. Every year, new faces come in. Other faces leave. You don't see them for years. Well, it happens. It's sad. You're like, and you just make dua, Ya Rabb, just keep me in the service of your house. Whether it's this one or whatever one you want, but just don't make me one of those where you look at me and don't see me worthy of it anymore, and you send me on my way. Have me focus on something different. Fill my time with another aspect of dunya that takes up everything. Because everyone has an excuse of why they don't show up, why they don't participate, and why they don't contribute, why they're not here. Everyone has, and the good excuses, I can't argue against them. Of course, I would have mashghool and work and research and kids and family, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us, that's all. وَإِذَا شِئْنَا بَدَّلْنَا أَمْثَالَهُمْ تَبْدِيلًا. بَدَّلْنَا تَبْدِيلًا, again, the same emphasis. We will perfectly substitute them. We'll remove this one and bring someone better. Look like them, yes, as strong, as tall, exactly. And you'll see it, subhanAllah, you'll see it. SubhanAllah, may Allah protect us, wallahi. إِنَّ هَذِهِ تَذْكِرَةٌ. Indeed, this is a reminder to all of you. فَمَنْ شَاءَ, for those who have the willingness, for those who will, those who want, those who have the desire, those who are willing to put in the effort, those who are motivated and driven. فَمَنْ شَاءَ اتَّخَذَ إِلَى رَبِّهِ سَبِيلًا. With what he learned, he will find, اتَّخَذَ سَبِيلًا, you'll find a path. السبيل is a path. اتَّخَذَ سَبِيلًا means وَاتَّخَذَ سَبِيلَهُ فِي الْبَحْرِ سَرَبًا or عَجَبًا in Surat. I mean, it found its path. It took a path for itself. فَمَنْ شَاءَ, those who really want to, those who decide that they want to change things for themselves, اتَّخَذَ إِلَى رَبِّهِ سَبِيلًا. They will find a path to their Lord. They will find their path back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you want to, if you have the willingness and you have the desire, you will find your path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will help you. And you will make the intention. You will have that willingness and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ease the way and you'll find your way to Allah. Anyone who does, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help them find the way. فَمَنْ شَاءَ اتَّخَذَ إِلَى رَبِّهِ سَبِيلًا. But then he points something out. وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. But that willingness that exists in your heart to do this only comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even the will in your heart that you are going to have towards wanting to find your way. Like, if you have the will, if you have the intention, فَمَنْ شَاءَ, if you decide that you're going to do something, then you'll find your way. But that decision that you're going to have inside, وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ, you can only have that إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows you to. He willed for you to will. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willed for you to will. He chose for you to choose. He gave you that, subhanahu wa ta'ala. But remember that you choose because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed you to choose. You have a will because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you a will. So remember that even the essence of your will, he says, if you have the will, you will find a way to Allah. That will is with the permission of Allah. Even the will. Forget about the doing. Forget about actually finding the way. The will itself only comes from Him. Forget about the ways. If the will can only come through His permission, what about the rest of it? وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. Only through His will you have will. إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ عَلِيمًا حَكِيمًا. Indeed, Allah has always been the most knowledgeable, the omniscient, and the most wise. يُدْخِلُ مَن يَشَاءُ فِي رَحْمَتِهِ. He will bring into His mercy. He uses the term فِي رَحْمَتِهِ. It's like His rahmah is no longer a concept. It's a physical entity. It's like something that you exist inside. It's no longer an abstract concept that we understand. It turns into a thing. يُدْخِلُ مَن يَشَاءُ. He will enter whomever He wills into His rahmah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's it. That's all there is. All you're doing is just asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. Right? You're just saying, Ya Rabb, just see me worthy of you entering me into your rahmah. The habit in Syria, this still exists in old masjid. You go and pray Fajr in any masjid on Friday, and the Imam will read all of Surat al-Sajda in the first rak'ah, and all of Surat Al-Insan in the second rak'ah. And in the second rak'ah, he will recite يُدْخِلُ مَن يَشَاءُ فِي رَحْمَتِهِ, and then he will lower his voice, and he and the whole masjid will say, Allahumma adkhilna fi rahmatik. And then they'll continue, وَالظَّالِمِينَ أَعَدَّ لَهُمْ عَذَابًا أَلِيمًا. All across, anywhere in Syria you go, this is like one of the very, and I didn't like it when I was a kid because I thought, like, what is this? Where do you get? Then I understood. And he was a kid, like, where is it? It's not in the Quran. You make it, but then you read, like, oh, now I understand. It's a comprehension of the build-up of this beautiful surah. Because you're listening about Jannah, you're listening like, how am I going to get there? What am I going to do? Is there anything that I actually can do to deserve that? It's impossible. So he tells you, he gives you the answer at the end. يُدْخِلُ مَن يَشَاءُ فِي رَحْمَتِهِ. He will bring whomever He wills into His rahmah. So you just ask Allah for that. You just try your best to be someone who can qualify for His rahmah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's it. Because your will, even your will, comes through permission of Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has to will for you to will. He did. He gave you that ability. But you have to remember that piece. That even your intentions and your thoughts and your desires and your decisions and your choices are just because He decides and chooses for you to have them. He can take them away. So you feel, for a moment there, you feel a little bit weak. That I don't have much. And that's the truth. We don't have much. We never did. And if you understand that and you accept it, you turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with that weakness, understanding, Ya Rabb, you bring into your rahmah whomever you want, bring me into it. Allahumma ameen. That's it. وَالظَّالِمِينَ, and the oppressors, أَعَدَّ لَهُمْ عَذَابًا أَلِيمًا. He has prepared for them a heavy, a painful punishment. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from that. But that's how He ends the surah. He says a reminder. Yeah, there's nothing you can do to actually qualify for Jannah, to say that I deserve it. When you come in, He'll make you feel good about it. But there's nothing for you to do. It's too much. The equation doesn't add up. So really, it's just a matter of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bringing you into His rahmah. مَن يَشَاءُ. Another way of understanding the ayah is, يُدْخِلْ مَن يَشَاءُ, as He brings who has that will into His rahmah. Like He'll enter those who have that will that He talked about the verses before into His rahmah. So really all you need to do is فَمَنْ شَاءَ اتَّخَذَ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهِ سَبِيلًا. Make the intention of finding your way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And remember that intention belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is the one who allowed you to have it. And inshallah with that intention, He will bring you into His rahmah. And that's it. And you don't complicate something that's simple. You just turn to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala with that acknowledgement that I'm weak, I don't have much. You granted me all of my abilities, all of my faculties, everything that I use. I want to come back to you. I want to be better. I want to find my path to you, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, allow me to find my path to you. And then have me enter your rahmah. And that's it. And the rest of it is in His hands, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And every time you fall, just do it again. And every time you fail, try it again. And just keep on saying the same thing. And that's why we say this every single week. In Surat al-Fajr. Every week repeat the same thing. It's one of the few surahs that you have a weekly appointment with. You pray Fajr Jama'ah, you'll listen. يُدْخِلُ مَن يَشَاءُ فِي رَحْمَتِهِ. We want to be in His rahmah. That's it. Yes. So that, as I was saying, you could be understood either way. So يُدْخِلُ مَن يَشَاءُ, He will enter whom He chooses into His rahmah. Or يُدْخِلُ مَن يَشَاءُ, as in the ayah before, فَمَنْ شَاءَ اتَّخَذَ. So it works both ways. But regardless, whether you just decide option 1 or option 2, He already told you, وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. Like the willing piece is still His choice, subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have it, but it's still His choice. So you can't really take full credit for something that is His creation. It's all His, subhanahu wa ta'ala. How can I take full credit for anything? You and I are independent creations from one another. If you do all the work, you can take full credit for it. But how do I take full credit for something with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? When I am myself a creation, when my spirit is a creation, when my choice and my willingness and my free choice and free will is His creation, how do I take credit for things? Like, how does that work? How do I tell Allah I take credit for this? I can't. It doesn't make, logically there's no sensibility in it. And to say, because everything I have, He owns it. He owns me. So how can I take credit for something if He owns me? With every aspect of me. It's not like He owns a piece and another piece is mine. Everything is His. So how do I take credit? So He tells you. This is what these verses are here. That just make the intention to find your way back. And know that even that intention is owned by Him. And He will bring into His rahmah whoever has that will. So just make the intention. Why do you think the deen is all about niyyah? Every time we explain something, you want to salli, the first thing, niyyah. You want to soom, first niyyah. Why? Because that's all you got. It's really all you got. Everything else either works or it doesn't. It's a tumble down the hill. Right? You're going to run and try not to fall splat, and most of the time you do. It's just the intention. Just try to, but even that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's permission for you to have it. يُدْخِلُ مَن يَشَاءُ فِي رَحْمَتِهِ. He brings into His mercy whoever has that willingness. Allahumma adkhilna fi rahmatik. We'll end with that, inshallah. I hope that was a benefit to you. We'll conclude Surat Al-Insan. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll continue, inshallah, after Ramadan. A few weeks after Ramadan, we'll start with Surat Al-Mursalat, and we'll go till the end of Juz' Amma, inshallah, within the year. Subhanakallah bihamdik, shanu la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka wa azzama ala nabiyyina wa habibina wa qurrati a'yunina Muhammadin wa sahbihi ajma'in. Next week, there is a dars after Jum'ah, after this, at the same time, after Isha. It's just going to be a different topic.